Alright, Legnum peeps, it's time to replace an alternator. So, yeah, I'm going to try and video this so the next person doesn't have to struggle with it. I'm just doing the easy bits right now, which is getting off all the bits that give you access to the alternator. And obviously, this little doodad here sits up in the wheel arch behind there. And there are three 12mm bolts that bolt it up to the actual body of the car. Once you've done that, let me just move this alternator so I can lie on the crawler. Once you've done that, you'll see you have pretty good access. The next thing you need to do, of course, is you've got to loosen the bolt on the pulley to move the adjuster. When these bolts on the pulleys are tight, the adjusters cannot be adjusted, and if you try and keep forcing it, you'll snap the adjuster bolt. So you need to loosen this with a 14mm first, and then you can come from the top of the car, whoa, and you can get access to this adjustment bolt down in there. See that sort of bolt right there? That's your adjuster. Let's zoom back out. So once you've done that, you can get the belt off the alternator. Make sure the battery is disconnected, guys, because I have actually once blown the 120 amp fuse because I touched the main feed off the alternator with a screwdriver and it touched the frame. So battery first, then the cover, then the pulley tensioner, get the belt off, and then you can focus on getting the alternator out, which is going to be next. So I'm just taking a short additional video here of from the bottom of the car. That green thing in the bottom of the image there is the CV shaft. This is looking up, and you can see you've got to get the little red thing there is the cover for the 10mm bolt, which actually is the main 12-volt output from the alternator. You have to get that off. That's part of the reason why you've got to have the battery disconnected, because if that's a live wire all the time, ignition on or off, it's always live. But as you can see, part of the reason I think this alternator failed is, whilst it has a heat shield that was added when the motor was built, it's very, very close to the outlet of that exhaust port there on the manifold. So I'm probably going to add a little bit of extra heat shielding. It's that griddle type stuff that you buy from Super Cheap, and you can sort of bend it into shape. What I'll do is I'll drill a hole in this, put a bolt through it, and actually mount that shield to it so I can sort of tuck it in here, try and keep a little bit more heat away from the alternator. Having said all that, this alternator is still working. It's just putting out low voltage when the engine's hot, like, you know, 12.9, 13 volts, which is just too low. It should be 14 all the time. I'm not like I have like a massive sound system in here or anything. Anyway, you can see the back side of one of the bolts you have to get out there, and there's another upper bolt. But basically, once you've got those two bolts out, you've only got the main 12-volt, you know, output from the alternator to disconnect, and there's also a 4-pin plug, which is on the top. Now, I can't easily get to that, so I'm going to try removing the bolts and moving the alternator around so I can get to the main 12-volt outlet here, and also to the 4-pin plug. Well, folks, we're kind of in, and I think for the purposes of this video and for the benefit of others, I'm going to follow the advice of one Adam Findlay, who's well known in the VR4 community, and remove the alternator bracket, which is this guy, this big Blanca iron here. Now, I've actually removed the 4 bolts to get the actual pulley tensioner assembly off, which gives me access to the bolts, because basically I have changed an alternator before, and you can, so I've removed the bottom bolt, I'm just getting the top bolt up now. You can unplug all the wires and spin them around and do, you know, finagle them so they come out on only one specific angle. But I suppose that's going to be hard to film. I only film by myself. And if I remove the alternator bracket, which is only, what, 1, 2, 3, what looks like 14mm bolts, then I should be able to just easily remove the alternator in a much larger gap, because basically the gap will be from here all the way across this this distance, there won't be this in the way here between there and the K-frame. So we're going to give that a shot. Okay, you can see I've gotten the bolts off, and I've actually managed to, just by dropping it down, get access to, you can see in the back there, the bolt for the 12 volt output, and you can also get your hands around and remove the 4-pin plug. And as you can see, the gap is kind of small, right? So the way to get it out without removing the bracket is, it's a lot of sort of maneuvering things on weird angles, like if you're really good at those kind of weird puzzle games. And I'm not. I have done it before though, and I just can't remember exactly what I did. So I think Adam's guidance, as I said before, on removing the alternator bracket is the right way to go. So let's remove those 3 14mm bolts, see if the bracket slides out for us, and we'll go from there. Okay, tensioner bracket's out. The alternator bracket's out. You can see this is a hydraulic tensioner for the timing chain. All right, folks, it's about to pop out. Note the angle. Even with all that space, this is the angle it comes out on. 12 volt power feed sitting just here. Nose of the pulley out there. This side of the bracket there, plug there. That's the way it comes out.